Welcome back, everyone. So, I just watched this video. I'm not gonna play it on here. I'll leave the link to the video in the description below. I'll be honest, he brings up some interesting points, but there's some things that are really interesting in it that get kind of tangled up and messed up in some very kind of conspiratorial ideas in it, as well as mix and matching things that don't really need to be mixed and matched, that don't make sense. But first, my first thought at seeing the title is the word social distancing, or, and here it is, tyranny. And my first thought was, man, we are so spoiled on freedom that when your freedoms get pushed back just a little bit, you whine, cry, and complain and start saying that we live in a tyrannical police state. We don't. When I think tyranny, I think of things like fascist Germany. I think of things like communist Russia. I don't think a mass disease that is spreading very, very rapidly throughout the globe, a pandemic, kind of like the Spanish flu and the plague, that both of those things wiped out a very big portion of the world's population at the times that those diseases happened. Well, he compares one of the problems. See, from my perspective, the United States has not truly done any true lockdown, quarantine, social distancing thing. If you look at some of what the other countries have done, the United States has really been very, very relaxed. I do suppose that it depends on state to state, which is something he does not look at. What happens in one state and then another state, and I do like that he's nonpartisan about it, and it doesn't have to do with left or right. This is happening in right-leaning states, this is happening in left-leaning states. But, for instance, the state that I'm in, it doesn't seem like it's the whole social distancing thing is really taken all that seriously. It doesn't really seem like much of a difference than when there wasn't a virus at all. People are still going to work. People are still going out for fast food. People are doing pretty much all the normal. The only thing that really isn't going on is school has been canceled. People are still going outside. They're going on bike rides, picnics. They're going to the park. I'm not seeing any of this tyranny, and I think that has to do with the state you live in and not so much the country. Interesting to put that out. But some of the other countries, like European countries, are looking at the United States, and he understates the amount of positive COVID-19 cases that we have here in America and the amount of deaths. The coronavirus, and it's even speculated now too, that the United States is not being honest of how many people have died. We are basically at almost 2,000 people per day dying of it in the United States. The United States has a quarter of the world's COVID-19 positive tested cases. A quarter of the world's COVID-19 cases. The United States alone has that. That's crazy. And a lot of that boils down to Trump not wanting to do this social distancing quarantine thing as soon as or as rapidly as other countries were doing it, as it was advised to him because he wanted to protect the economy. So I can say that Thunderfoot on his main channel, Thunderfoot, as well as his Voice of Thunder channel, has been watching the COVID-19 cases very, very closely, and he's made some pretty accurate predictions based on science and doing math. And I would say you should go and watch those because they're very interesting, informative, and intriguing. But I think the number that he let me like they say that the flu has killed more people per year than COVID-19. That's not true. COVID-19 has killed the amount of people that the flu kills in 1 year in basically 1 month. That is why we are doing this social distancing thing with this virus. That's another thing that he does. Or at least he shows this in his video. I don't mind comparing the death rates from one disease to another. That makes sense. That's rational. But I don't like comparing the death rates of COVID-19 or disease to that of a behavior, like the consumption of alcohol or tobacco products. One is a behavior, the other is a virus. There's a big difference. And like I said, the downplay of how big of a deal COVID-19 is. COVID-19, if we didn't... It's killed more people in 1 month than the flu can kill in an entire year. And that's with social distancing and quarantine. With it. So that's something that should probably be considered. My understanding is, though, this virus has already killed in the United States. I mean, it's killed quite a lot of people. It's killed an enormous amount. It's pretty severe. And it's mutating, which is, it could be good. It could mutate into a less vicious strain, although that rarely seems to be the case in viral mutations. It could mutate into a more aggressive strain. But the fact that it's mutating means that making a vaccine for it is more complicated. So I do like that he says he understands the social distancing, and that makes sense, but that should be a societal suggestion. Well, from the state that I live in, that seems to be what it is. I mean, I've not seen anyone stopped by the police, fined. I've never even heard of it. I think these things are happening in other states. I live in a Republican state. It is currently it's a red state, but we currently have a Democratic elect, but we have a lot of other Republic elects as well. It was ran by a Republican for the longest time. We finally got a Democrat in, but it's still a red state. I haven't seen any of this. Literally, it's been like business as usual aside from some things being shut down, like bars. Bars have been shut down. Fast food restaurants are still open. People are, like I said, people are going outside. They're going to playgrounds and whatnot. So, like, I go and I'm reading in these comment sections, and there's like this one guy who's talking about restrictions, and people are going to revolt, and this guy starts talking about how the government is only restricting a few freedoms for now. Unless they are pushed back now, it will get ugly quick. And it's like, the first thing that comes to my mind is, do you have any evidence of this? Or is the only thing that you can bring to the table is basically, is this nothing more than an assumption? I don't think he has any facts or evidence to base this off of to say that, oh, it's just going to get that. Just like, it's like, goddamn, dude, like, stop being so fucking paranoid. Like, I suppose that's a possibility, but what is the likelihood of it other than what else do you have to bring to the table other than your paranoid hunch? They took almost no time from social distancing to stay in your house or be fined. See, I don't know. That's not happening in my state. Nobody's being fined. It's recommended you stay in your house, but people are going out. They're going shopping. They're going places. I don't know. I think that depends on the state that you're in, not the country. Well, it does. I mean, like I said, other countries are being more aggressive with quarantining measures than the United States. And guess what? Their coronavirus testing positive numbers are lower. What was the other thing I saw that I thought was, this is all this this is because this had nothing to do with the virus. It's about seizing control. Start talking about the truth. Conspiracy. That's what that says to me. I'm paranoid and conspiratorial. Give someone little power and it goes to their heads. I really saw people plotted restrictions. Okay. This one I love. I understand you have to be careful and more responsible about what you say, Anomaly, but this was never about a virus. That's so obviously the pretext. The more people wake up to this, the sooner the better. Oh, that wasn't it. Oh, this one is hilarious. It was overkill from the jump. We have the flu every year and thousands of people die. None of this adds up. We can never get rid of the flu. Oh, this is the one. This is the one that I really, really, really love. Right on, Anomaly. Social distancing is something that is supposed to be carried out culturally at the suggestion of health experts, not at the barrel of a gun. Nobody's doing this at the barrel of a gun. That's ridiculous. Maybe, well, they probably were doing that in China and in Korea, but they're not doing that here in the United States. The entire operation is a cover for incoming communism, not a virus. I'm sorry, but that's conspiratorial to the max. I mean, that is hilarious. It's not about the virus that's actually killing people. We don't know what that virus is. It's just some weird anomaly. It's actually about communism. What? Yeah, they brought in a hospital on a boat to New York because they want to stop communism. Absolutely. That makes perfect sense. It looks like tyranny to him. But they were talking about, and he mentioned like talking about banning alcohol and cigarettes because it kills more people per year than. You talk about alcohol and cigarettes. I think that's the cap, right? That is the major killer of the year for almost anything compared to almost anything. But those are behaviors. Those are not a disease. Those are not a virus. A virus. You can potentially stop being an alcoholic or quit smoking cigarettes. There's no guarantee that we can create a vaccine for a mutatable virus, especially the fact that we're seeing it mutate. That's dangerous. and it's spread all across the world within just a few months. That's really fast. The other thing is what it does to your lung tissue. It scars your lung tissue. But I think the word tyranny is a little bit too far. And I really think it's interesting how some people are actually coming forward and saying outright that the economy is more important than the people who are losing their lives due to COVID-19. That's interesting. So, to anyone out there, may I ask this? What good is the economy to you if you're dead? What difference does it make what state the economy is in if you're dead? What impact does it have on the economy when a large percentage of the populace dies and cannot do the jobs that were needed to be done that stimulate the economy? I think those are valid questions to ask. And that's another thing that he does is he talks about other countries like it's happening here in the United States. It's not. Other countries are being a little bit more authoritarian. And I said this. I said that, yeah, we're going to see some authoritarian in response to this, authoritarianism, because ultimately you cannot count on people being responsible. I don't like this aspect because I don't like authoritarianism. I'm anti-authoritarianism. But people do dumb shit. People are putting themselves in the position to catch COVID-19. In fact, the state that I live in, there was a church sermon that said, fuck it, we're going to have a church sermon and we're going to invite all these people from all these different districts and counties. As a result, something like 80 to 90 people contracted COVID-19 and 63 of them died. You won't guess what state I'm in from. I know that there's a state that has a very similar story. That's not the state I live in. This was not huge news. I don't live in a state that makes huge news. But why? Why do that? But that's what I mean. People, like, you suggest, hey, you should probably stay home and socially distance yourself. And people are like, nah, fuck the consequences. I'm going to do it anyway. And as a result, people die from it. So what do they end up doing? They start issuing fines and detaining people for not listening to something that is a reasonable suggestion. Like I said, though, for the most part, in my state, it's like nothing happened. I mean, seriously, people are going out and doing things like nobody even said you should socially distance yourself and stay inside. So I don't get this whole tyranny thing. That's not what I see. I still see, I keep reiterating this, but I still see people going out. They're going to the grocery stores naturally, but I mean they're going to like parks. They're going to parks with their kids, and they're in groups of people. There's groups of people there. So I don't see the tyranny side. It seems to be that the state I live in, people are making an active choice to socially distance, and those that don't end up getting sick. Maybe they get better, but unfortunately some of them die. Would I call it tyranny? No. I wouldn't call it tyranny. But when a country declares a state of emergency, you're going to see more authoritarianism than you usually do. Believe it or not, though, we are still pretty free in this country. We have a lot more freedoms than most. I would say that here in the United States, we probably have more freedom than countries in Europe. What other countries that aren't third world that you can live in where you can legally buy and obtain a bazooka? Because you can do that here in the United States. I can still order I can still get e-liquids. I could go to the store and buy cigarettes and alcohol if I wanted to. Alcohol, I guess, has been declared an essential because it's a sanitation device. I could go through a fast food drive-through if I wanted to. Yeah, I can't think of anything that I mean, like, you can't go to the movie theater, you can't go to the mall, but I never really did those things anyway, so I've been relatively unaffected by this. So I think this is interesting that they conflate it to tyranny, or that it's being conflated to tyranny. I wouldn't say that it's that far. Yes, there's more authoritarianism than usual, but you're still pretty fucking goddamn free. This is fear-mongering. Look at what some of the other countries are doing in response to COVID-19. And look at what the United States has done. The reason why the United States has a quarter of the world's COVID-19 cases is because we didn't take a stricter stance on social distancing and quarantine. If you look at the countries that took stricter stances, they have lower numbers and lower deaths. Those are the facts. We have been really, really relaxed in this country about social distancing and quarantine when it comes to COVID-19. That's the real reality. And some people are looking at Trump. Trump blamed the World Health Organization for not telling him, but they did. And Trump said, no, the economy is more important. Trump said, oh, it's just, a few cases. I forget how many it was at first. It'll be fine. They're better. When it skyrocketed up to, I think, like 500 or something like that, that's when it went, oh shit, state of emergency. So if we had done the social distancing quarantine when a lot of the other countries were doing it, and if we took a stricter stance on it, we probably wouldn't have a quarter of the world's COVID-19 positive cases and 2,000 deaths per day. I forget what the death rate is, but the Johns Hopkins University has been doing a pretty good job at keeping track of it. And the reason why you see places like Korea, South Korea, North Korea, and China getting control of COVID-19 faster than anyone else is because they are tyrannical countries. And they imposed very, very strict tyrannical policies on COVID-19 cases. No, I wouldn't call it tyranny. I think that's a stretch of the imagination. And I think that living in a free society, people become spoiled on freedom. And when it's cut back just a little bit, you automatically like throw your hands up and go, this is tyranny, this is dictatorship. It's not. It's not. You want to see true dictatorship, go to a dictatorship country and you will see it. You will see a big difference. Like I said, compared to a lot of the other countries, the United States has been very, very laid back. Just to put it in perspective for people out there, there are third world countries that are basically doing the equivalent of some European countries where they're not being tyrannical about it, but they're being very, very strict about social distancing and quarantining. The third world countries, have lower COVID-19 positive cases and lower death rates from it than the United States. Because it just seems like the United States is not taking it very serious. And I don't think this guy's taking it very serious either. And I loved how they compared it to HIV. HIV is not an airborne virus. This is. And if we look at the history of pandemics, they have, like what we're seeing now is with social distancing and quarantining. And like I said, the United States has been pretty relaxed about it compared to other places. If we didn't do that, those numbers, the COVID-19 positive cases and the death cases, those numbers would be much, much higher. Think about that. So, I'm not here to argue with you. If you feel that it's tyrannical, fine. Feel that it's tyrannical. In my personal opinion, I would say that it's more authoritarian than usual in the United States, but I wouldn't call it tyranny. That's ridiculous. That's almost like being outraged for the sake of being outraged. And I think you just need to calm down. Eventually, the idea is that once a certain percentage of the population has been exposed to COVID-19 and our immune systems have been exposed to it and we have antibodies for it and everything, and it's affected the human genome for all time, they will release all these restrictions and then let nature do the rest, which is hopefully more people will survive because of our immune system response to it. But I'd like to hear your opinion, but I think it would be a good idea, before giving me your opinion in the comments section below, that you take a look at this video and you watch it, and even scroll through some of these really paranoid comments. The communists, the leftist agenda, blah, 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 blah. And this is even happening in red states. What the fuck? I think you should watch his video and then tell me what you think. Like, share, subscribe, comment, hit the bell button on any channel you're subscribed to. And I believe in choices, not one's ability to impose one's will. Like I said, you've got a lot of really irresponsible people. And even when you're sitting there saying, like, hey, we're in a lot of danger, we're facing a pandemic, just try not to catch this virus, and you have people out there saying, fuck the consequences, I'm going to go out and drinking, doing drugs, partying, and having sex all night, and going through a Taco Bell drive-thru at 2 o'clock in the fucking morning, I don't think you're taking this very seriously. And then you wake up the next day, and we went from 500 deaths to over 1,000 in one day. I think that says something. And I think that's why you see what you're calling tyranny, or what I would say more enforcement. I think that's why you're seeing it. Because people aren't responsible. They do stupid things.